Okay, I'm going to talk to you about one of the biggest lies that contractors tell themselves when they're trying to scale a business about growth. They're on the hunt for bigger projects, projects with greater contract value. They think a bigger contract means a bigger company. I think a $20 million project automatically will make them more successful, make them more money than a contractor running $2 million projects. It doesn't. Because a contract is not revenue. A contract is permission to go earn revenue. Guys, we only get paid for what we build. That's it. If we don't build it, can't get paid for it. And there's a tremendous amount of risk that you have to take into consideration on larger contract value projects. And I don't just mean the risk on the margin in managing the job. I mean the risk of being able to actually prosecute that work. And there's only so much amount of work that you could prosecute. If I give you a $100 million contract today, that doesn't mean it's $100 million top line today. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to build $100 million worth of construction. You could only build your throughput. And that's the key. The key is concurrent billing events. You still have to build the work. You have to prove the work. You have to bill the work and you have to collect it. Until that happens, giant contracts are just a big stack of earning potential, top line revenue potential that's sitting on paper. This is the contractor revenue throughput system. I'm going to show you why contract value is the wrong thing to worship. What actually controls your top line revenue and how you build the management capacity to run more productive work without just completely destroying your margins. A $100 million contract does not put $100 million in your bank account. It doesn't even put $100 million on your income statement today. And I'm using these numbers. Some of you guys, these numbers are outrageous. And I don't want to sound like these apartment guys. Just buy $10 billion worth of apartments. But when you're in commercial, large public works construction, you would be surprised how many $100 million projects are out there, especially in the big metropolises. So I'm using this number because it is the reality for many of us, and it isn't so crazy. But it doesn't put $100 million on your income statement. It doesn't put $100 million in your bank account. You get paid as the work becomes real. That means production is the engine, okay? And billing is the conversion mechanism. And then collecting that billing, that's the finish line. So backlog is useful, but backlog is not throughput. If your company can't move the work, the size of the contract does not save you. Every dollar has to survive 5 gates. First, the work has to be under contract. Second, it has to be executable. That means drawings, decisions, labor, material, access, and the predecessor work have to be ready. Third, it has to be produced in the field. Fourth, that production has to be documented and accepted so it's billable. And fifth, the invoice has to be collected. If any one of these gates jams, your top line slows you down, and it could come to a screeching halt. You could have all the signed work in the world and still be starving for cash. Let me share with you an experience. One of my projects was a New York City DEP project. The contract duration on that project was 4 years. Just the E-scope was $38 million, almost $39 million base bid. 4-year contract value. The job finished 14 years after NTP. It was 10 years late. Over 205, I think we ended with like 209, between 207 and 209 change orders, design error and omission, unforeseen field conditions, change orders. In New York, it's Wick's Law. That's just the E contract. Okay, so the final contract value was somewhere creeping towards 70 million. Okay, there were over 800 change orders on that contract, the entire contract, over 800. The job was 10 years late. I've sat through massive delayed conditions. Now, you hit that work, you go, hey man, boom, we got a $40 million project at 4 years. Let's do some forecasting, we're gonna make some money. 14 years later, you get to close that thing out. See, large projects aren't the answer. Projects that allow for a predictable throughput, margin protection, consistency in work production and payment, that is how the company goes. You could have the largest project in the world, okay? And you have massive risk outside of the risk management of margin for the production on that site. You have risk of production, productivity, continuity on these projects. The larger they are, the more change orders is going to be. The more complexity, the more dynamic that project is going to be. Many of you guys don't even know what you're trying to get yourself into. And if your organization is not running like a Swiss watch, you will end up making less money or even go out because you're hunting projects specifically on contract value. Here's the equation, and I'm going to keep it in contractor language for you. Your revenue throughput is controlled by four things. Number one, how many projects are actually creating value for you right now? Not sitting in pre-con, not waiting for an owner or a decision from an owner, that are actually creating value. Number two, how fast each project is producing billable work. Number three, whether your office can turn that field production into clean, defensible pay applications. Number four, whether you get approved billing in a timely manner, and that billing can be collected as cash. Now, multiply those four realities together, and you have a revenue engine. One weak number drags down the entire equation. That's why they're multipliers. Now, they're multipliers in a good way if it's going good, and they're multipliers in a way you don't want that multiplied if it don't go any good. Okay? If it doesn't go the way that you planned. You don't want to be staring down that barrel. Now look at this example. Contractor A has one impressive project and produces $750,000 of billable work this month. Contractor B has four smaller active fronts. Each produces $225,000. 4 times 225 is $900,000. Contractor B wins the month. Not because the individual projects were larger, but because the system moved more billable production, okay? And that's the whole argument. We're not trying to manufacture invoices, create more, front loading and sort of creating more machinations. What we're trying to do is create more independent streams of completed work that legitimately trigger invoices, okay? Concurrent billing events. The ability to independently trigger more concurrent billing events. And those billing events being productive, consistent, predictable billing events. Okay? Now, don't bastardize what I just said. I'm not going to tell you to grab every small project that you find. That's not the strategy. I'm not telling you to overload your company. Fill it up with a pile of chaos, little jobs, and all that stuff. Okay? I'm telling you that the contractor who can sustain more controlled production has the opportunity to produce more revenue than the contractor whose entire company is trapped behind one critical path. There's a massive risk to revenue concentration. When we are overly concentrated on one or two projects for revenue, we are in a very risky situation. It's not good risk management. It's not what a steward and a great CEO would do and position his company. More projects are not automatically the answer. More throughput is the answer. And if you add projects without adding or reorganizing capacity, your people are going to start switching back and forth. Then decisions are going to start sitting. Okay, documentation is going to get weak. Change orders are going to get performed before they're approved. Billing is going to get missed. Closeout is going to drag out. It's going to be this insane process. And rework goes up because anytime we have a compressed schedule, you increase your risk for rework. Why? Because men are being pressured to work at intervals and at speeds that they're not used to. You are exposing yourself to that risk exposure of rework. Okay? Your margin goes down. The objective here is not maximum concurrency. The objective is optimal concurrency. The most productive work system you can move without breaking. And you have to know that about your organization, which is why contracting, it's a business like any other business. And we're entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship isn't sales. It's one aspect of entrepreneurship, but it ain't entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is engineering. It's engineering duplicatable systems, marshaling your resources, your organization for desired ends. And that has to be engineered. It requires you sitting down, taking a beat, and thinking about these things. Now, thankfully for me, being born into this business, a lot of smarter guys came before me and did the thinking for me, and I'm doing the thinking for you if you haven't heard of this or ever been exposed to this type of thought. Okay, this is called Little's Law. Funny name, but forget the name, right? The idea is common sense. If your company can finish 12 jobs a year and you keep 6 jobs active, the average job spends about 6 months in the system. If you shove 12 active jobs into that same company, but the company still only finishes 12 a year, the average time in the system becomes 12 months. If you shove in 24 and do not increase the output, the work sits there roughly twice as long. So more work in the system does not magically create more output. When output stays flat, extra work creates waiting. Okay, so in construction, waiting kills us. Waiting carries payroll, supervision, extended gen cons, equipment, overhead, financing costs, client frustration, and further risk, not to mention, if you have a bond, having your bonding capacity held hostage, not to mention, if it's in the private sector, the potential loss of profit opportunity in the future with that client. It has tentacles, and it is so insidious, delay and waiting, that it can put us out of business and hurt us really bad. And unfortunately, that's the reality for a lot of contractors. They're getting wrong information. They're listening to people that have never played in the NFL of contracting and have zero capacity for critical thought. Every contractor has a choke point. Okay, it might be estimating, it might be PM launch capacity. It's probably both of those things for you, especially if you're on a smaller side. You're getting crushed on the estimating side. You're getting crushed on the PM side. You're being brought into PM. You don't even really know what project management is. There's no real project management methodology. Mate, you're hanging yourself out there to dry. Okay, it might be supers, it might be procurement, it might be billing. But in this example, pre-construction can prepare 10 projects. The field can execute 8. Billing can support 7, but the PM can only launch 6. Okay? That's a dynamic everywhere. What that means is the company's a 6 project per year system until it changes the launch process or it adds qualified capacity. So making estimating faster is not going to help. It does nothing if the work just piles up on the PM. And if we're waiting and we're using the bandwidth of one person and waiting for that to free up to be able to trigger and peel that person off to go do something else to trigger another billing event, we're lost. Which is why deeper in this, I might make some other videos on this. The Contractor Circle guys completely understand this. And the Contractor School guys absolutely have gone through this. Different project management methodologies in order to phase out PMs and in order for them to trigger other billing events and hand off phases to other guys that slot into that position. So we are increasing their bandwidth. We're increasing our concurrent billing events without having to increase our headcount. Okay, this is why project count is a stupid capacity metric to be kind of bragging about, and it's a stupid capacity metric by itself. A project in pre-con does not consume the same PM attention as a project in a major recovery state, okay? And a stable production job doesn't consume the same attention as mobilization would be consuming. And closeout should not, even though I know this is inverted for many of you guys, closeout should not consume the same senior resources as mobilization or control setup, okay? You have to weight the load by phase. 6 contracts can be manageable or impossible. And the phase mixing decides. And if you're not scoring your projects by phases in your weekly PM meetings, hopefully in your daily whip, but you guys are so close to being able to do that, but you just don't know it. You'd understand where you're at on your project phasing, which then will help you dictate your resource allocation, your throughput, and everything comes down to the throughput, okay? So here's how you create leverage. Phase 1 is control setup. Contract assumptions, CPM schedule, schedule values, budget, buyout, risk holds, etc. Okay? Phase 2 is the production launch, readiness, trade commitments, reporting discipline, billing triggers. Phase 3, outcome control, daily whip, daily freaking whip. It is so important, and it has so many tentacles, and it provides crucial data for the entire company. And it's just a few small tweaks that you've got to do. 95% of you guys are doing it, and you're doing 95% of what's required, especially if you're doing daily reports, daily logs every day. You're just missing the most critical pieces of it. Risk, notices, notice requirements, okay, recovery schedules, and the indicated profit if you're running IOR, which everybody who's watching this video should be running IOR. If you don't know how to do that, I can teach you how to do that. It's the standard for project management for contractors. And if you're not running it, you're leaving a tremendous amount of money on the table, and you're exposing yourself risk-wise in a manner that would keep me up at night. That's for sure. Okay? Phase 4 is closeout and collection. The same person does not need to carry every ounce of every phase forever, which is what your model likely is right now. That's the industry standard model. It's totally ridiculous. You build handoff standards. You assign the right altitude of resources to that right specific phase. The handoff standard, not the hero PM, not the heroics of the day. Listen, heroics can't be scaled. So if you're getting out of jobs based on the heroics of you coming down there, you pounding the table, fighting with the owner, you screaming at the guys, marshaling, it's not going to work. You can't scale that way. If we're focused on and we're relying upon you and your heroics or your PM's heroics and not a very specific handoff standard, you're not going to be able to scale the company, period. Okay, let's move on to the daily whip here. The daily whip is how the company knows production's real. The field records the exact activity, crews, hours, quantity, material. You guys are doing 95% of this in your daily logs, okay? But your daily logs are looking more like a diary, okay? And the project manager or whoever's looking at those daily logs, me or you, we had to do a translation of what the daily log says and translate that to what? The schedule of values, the CPM schedule. I got to do a translation of what that is and figure that whole thing out so that I could come up with percent completes on a schedule of value and percent completes on a CPM schedule. Where the guy's filling out the dailies or the super who's managing them and takes 10 minutes to fill it out. SOV, CPM schedule, tie the work that was performed to those items. You're already doing 95% of it as far as the lift is concerned if you're doing daily logs, okay? But the most important stuff is what you're not doing, unfortunately. The daily log rolls into production quantities, those quantities tied to the CPM activities and to the SOV line items. That creates the proof for the billing event if the field can't prove what it produced. I've got dailies that tie directly into SOV and directly into a CPM, and they're detailed. The problem is you're leaving it up to your super and you're leaving it up to your guys to do it. You're not giving them the tools necessary. You got to give them the form, or better yet, get them into Overwatch, and Overwatch sets it up for you, okay? You don't have to do any thinking at all. Just type it in, and you'll get the production units and output for you if you're self-performing, or your subs, which is going to help you with buyout. And the subs don't want to hear this, but you're going to be able to back into their number. Okay, that's another video and another conversation. In the office, if you don't do this, wait until the end of the month. They wait until the end of the month to guess. Management is guessing because your PMs have been lying to you every project management meeting. And something has already happened weeks ago, and we're finding out about it now. We do our whip now when we send the billing in. That's historical, man. You're becoming an archaeologist. You're not in front of it at all. We're trying to piece together the past. Accounting and billing is screaming, hey man, I need values on this. I need proof for the backup. You don't have it, okay? This is all friction. This all adds massive friction. You're not clean as driven white snow on this. You're not getting the data to operate the company appropriately. And you are creating these barriers of collecting money. Okay? Now, if you're doing that now on smaller projects, why are you chasing larger ones? These are multipliers that are only going to expose your weakness. They're not going to do what you think they're going to do. So concurrency gives you more opportunities to create revenue. It also gives you more opportunities to lose money. And that's why IOR is non-negotiable. Okay, start with the forecasted final contract. Subtract the forecasted final cost. Subtract known exposure holds. Subtract your contingency holds. These are called E holds and C holds in IOR. Okay? There's a whole methodology that will make your project managers a super project manager, a super soldier for you. There is no excuse to not implementing IOR in project management. You just don't know it, or you're just too lazy, you're afraid to teach your guys something that they don't know because they're extorting you, putting you to the wall. You're afraid to piss them off because you're afraid they're going to quit on you. And who runs the company, you or them? Tail's wagging the dog. Now, when you do that, what remains is your indicated gross profit. And that profit's supported by the reality of the work today. Today, you work at a Banana Republic, you work at a deli, you work at any store, you reconcile the register at the end of the day. We run multi-million-dollar projects and we don't reconcile the register just because we don't bill until the end of the month. Does that mean the company didn't produce any revenue today? Your lawyer's tracking his time and he knows his billables every day, even though he doesn't send you a bill until the end of the month. Okay, well, what's the difference with us? Our company is producing output. It's producing revenue every single day. And we're not reconciling that because we don't have a daily whip in place and we don't know where we stand on these projects every day at close of business because we don't know what the real risks are. We didn't allocate dollars to them because we're not running IOR. Every meaningful risk needs a dollar value, an owner, an action, and a review date. We eliminate it, recover it, offset it, hold against it, escalate it, or we accept it. And by identifying these risks, allocating dollars to it, and then adding a treatment to it, we know what we need to do in the field. Financial decisions are driving construction outcomes, not construction outcomes driving financial realities, which is the state of the industry and likely the state of how you're running your organization. It's not too late, mate. You got to turn it around. Okay? You can't leave it floating around waiting to eat the margin, finding out about it too late because we don't have our fingers on the pulse. And it's not a difficult thing to do. Let's connect the system. The entire machine comes together here, okay? AOS assigns accountability and makes sure issues have owners. That's a separate video that's about how you should be running the operating system, the management of the business, from hierarchical to accountability. Phased management creates capacity. We talked about it. Daily whip proves production. Billing events convert that production into top-line revenue. And IOR protects the margin. So more controlled production, more defensible billing, more collected revenue, protected margin. That's the growth system for a contractor. That is how you scale and grow a construction company. Chasing bigger contracts without this system in place is gambling. It's pure gambling. You don't know what you get yourself into. It's going to be a rude awakening. It's a myth, mate. It's a myth. Okay? So here's what I want you guys to do next. Number one, count how many projects are actually producing billable work today for you. Number two, calculate the monthly billing velocity of each one. Billing velocity is massive. The velocity of things in our business is everything. I've talked about this a million times, specifically on change orders, that everybody loves change orders, and change orders are great. It's free work. What matters most is the change order velocity. How quickly I can price that, get it approved, get that thing registered, attack that work, and get paid on it. A change order is not great if I'm sitting here waiting for approval. I need velocity of change orders. Billing velocity is the same way. If we're overly concentrated on large project values and we have a very poor billing velocity, you're going out of business. Number three, identify the resource currently limiting the next billing event. Get your finger on it. Number four, calculate how much margin is exposed across your portfolio. And if you can't answer these questions, you don't know the capacity, or the financial truth of your company. So do not chase a bigger contract until you understand throughput capacity and the throughput capacity of your company that you are currently fielding. Bigger contracts can be great, okay? When you know what you're doing and you understand throughput and everything I explained today, you have that running like a Swiss watch, then go attack bigger contract values. But size does not cure weak production. It doesn't cure weak billing, doesn't cure weak handoffs, doesn't cure weak risk management, risk mitigation and project management. Doesn't cure those things, man. It exposes those things and makes all those things more expensive. So what you should focus on is building your operating system, engineering your capacity, create more controlled billing events. Protect that margin, and then you will grow. You want to learn more about these concepts and get in the weeds and start playing in the NFL of contracting? You know where to find me, Contractor Circle. See you guys on the next one.